At this time, I ask that Rotarians with guests and visiting Rotarians please come forward for introductions.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Hoyer. I'm the President and CEO at Goodwill Industries of West Michigan, and I'm proud to introduce you to Amy Cummings. She's our Job Placement Supervisor at Goodwill, and she'll be part of the panel today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today my guest is Talea Gordon. She is starting with us this week as an AmeriCorps Vista member and will be serving as our Student United Coordinator, working between high school students with volunteer service hours and connecting with our schools on how they can get connected to volunteers as well.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. I'm Kathy Hegedus from the district office, and this guy just showed up today, so I was asked to introduce him. He has been the club president of the Fremont Club in year 15-16. He then went on to be an AG for assistant governor for 5 years. This year he's going to take on a little thing called the 50-50 raffle. He's going to chair that. He's also the current Life Leadership Conference chair, and he's our intermediate past district governor, Jeff Coyle.
Hello, Rotarians. My name is Andy Belo, and with me I have two guests from the group Indivisible Muskegon, Claire Schlaff and Barbara Mills. Please welcome them.
My name is Dave Mettendorf with Mettendorf Real Estate, and I have with me Eric Raskovitz. He's a realtor, a social media specialist, and he graduated from Michigan State.
No student guests today. We are replacing the student guests with a video of El Salvador 2025, who spent last week building homes and distributing clothing and other items. But before we show this video, I need to give special thanks to Esther Rico for planning and organizing the Muskegon participants. And not only that, Esther was accompanied by Michelle Burley for the chaperoning of this particular event. So at this time, I'll call upon Mike to show the video. That group built 6 homes this last week, 6 homes. And those cinder blocks are pretty heavy, I understand. So a lot of work was done by them. Again, they distributed some clothing also, and did some great work for us. So, and Mike, another tremendous job on videography. Appreciate your taking that time. At this time, I'll call on Andy Bulow to present the program today.
Come on up, guys. While they're assembling, I just want to say, as always, thank you to Mike Vogus. We are so lucky in this club to have somebody who takes care of production for us. So as chair of the Rotary DEI committee, I have been asked, or I was asked to facilitate this discussion about disability services and the issues facing people with disabilities and those who serve them. So I'm just so pleased to introduce this wonderful panel of experts who are all working in the field every day. So let me just briefly introduce them in alphabetical order. Jill Bontice. We know Jill because she's a Rotarian. She's also the CEO of Pioneer Resources. And as you know, Pioneer Resources is a nonprofit serving Muskegon and Ottawa counties, providing access to housing, training, recreation, and transportation for seniors and for individuals with disabilities. Jill has a master's in social work and previous experience as a clinical supervisor at Health West, and she brings both professional expertise and personal passion to her advocacy. Jill is a strong and vocal champion for inclusion and equity, drawing from both her leadership role and her lived experience. She herself lives with a disability, often characterized as an invisible disability, and you'll learn more about that during this discussion, that impacts her daily life but may not be immediately visible to others. Jill has also has close family members with disabilities, which deepens her commitment to creating communities where everyone belongs. So that's Jill. Welcome. Amy Cummings. Amy is the job placement supervisor with Goodwill Industries of West Michigan, where she has been since 2015. Amy is passionate about helping others reach their potential, and she started as a customer service trainer, providing on-the-job coaching and soft skills training, supporting participants' transition into competitive employment. And as production supervisor, she streamlined order processing, maintained accurate inventory, and ensured exceptional communication and service for internal and external customers. In her role as a janitorial manager, she effectively managed expenses, upheld contract quality, trained and motivated a diverse staff, and handled bid preparations. Now, all of that sounds like very good training for what she does now as job placement supervisor. She cultivates partnerships with local businesses committed to inclusive hiring, helping them unlock the full potential of their workplace. Amy, we're so glad to have you with us. Thank you. And our own Myra Dutton is the CEO at HGA Support Services, a nonprofit providing residential and autism training support to persons in Newaygo, Muskegon, Oceana, and Mason counties for 45 years. The organization, right? Yeah. I was going to say, Myra has served as an attorney and an advocate for children with disabilities and their families for over 25 years, and is the parent and guardian of a daughter living with severe and multiple disabilities. Myra has been a fierce advocate for full and equitable access for all persons to every aspect of their community. Thank you, Myra. Glad to have you on this panel. And last but not least, Brad Hastings, a fellow member of the DEI Committee and a Rotarian. And Brad is the Systems Advocacy Manager at Disability Network West Michigan, where he leads efforts to remove barriers for people with disabilities through education, advocacy, collaboration, and outreach. A certified ADA coordinator, Brad works with local governments, businesses, and organizations to promote accessibility and inclusion. And previously, he spent 5 years at True North Community Services, leading food security initiatives and policy advocacy for low-income communities. In 2024, the Fair Housing Center of West Michigan honored him with the Fair Housing Award for his work addressing housing discrimination against people with disabilities. Brad also serves on the Downtown Development Authority Board, advocating for accessibility in urban planning and development. A Muskegon native, he is committed to ensuring that accessibility remains a priority as the community grows. That's Brad. So now you know all of our panelists, and we're going to dive into the questions while we all breathe Mexican food on each other. And I'm going to start, we'll make sure that there's time for you to ask questions, but I'm going to start with just a question about representation and visibility, and this is a general question. Most of these questions could be answered by any of you, so you can decide amongst yourselves who wants to address them. How can workplaces, schools, and communities improve representation and visibility of people with disabilities in leadership roles?
I think they need to create mentorship programs, especially for people with disabilities.
Okay.
Highlight leaders in their, with disabilities in their internal communications as well as their newsletters.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just add, having people with disabilities on your board of directors, making sure that those opportunities are accessible to people with disabilities. You want to make sure that they're not just represented in the leadership of your organization, but in other bodies that help make decisions. So if you have employee resource groups or different subcommittees or focus groups, making sure that disability perspective is included in that can make your workplace more inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think starting with that job application, the job description, making sure that is accessible for anyone with however they may need to complete that, offering that support if it is needed. And then I think as employees are hired, just having that conversation, sharing them with what services your organization offers and how they can access those services, and to reach out if they need support.
Anything to add, Myra?
I think just making opportunities available, even if it's starting out with, like you said, mentoring opportunities, internship opportunities, volunteer opportunities, anything that would give people the ability to be a part of what's happening in your organization.
Great. Just a quick production quality check. Can everybody hear us? Do we need to talk more closely to the mics? Okay, thank you. I thought you might say that. Intersectionality is one of those interesting words that you learn about when you're working on diversity and inclusion. And basically what it means is that sometimes there are multiple layers of potential marginalization of a person. So how do factors such as, for example, race, gender, and socioeconomic status intersect with disability? And how can we ensure that our efforts are inclusive of all these intersections?
Can I take this one?
Go for it.
So when we give presentations out in the community, we always say that disability is the largest minority group that you can join at any time, but it's also a minority group that intersects all other identities. You can be rich, poor, white, black, gay, straight, and also be a person with a disability. So if you're somebody who's a person of color and also a person with a disability, you might, experience multiple forms of discrimination or systematic barriers that you encounter in the community.
How often is a person going to have a disability at some point in their life, or what percentage?
Yeah, so we always explain to people, sometimes people hear disability issues and they're like, well, why does this apply to me? I don't have a disability, nobody I know does. First thing I would say is that you do know somebody who has a disability, even if you don't know that they do. But you can become a person with a disability in a couple of different ways. You could be born with one. It could happen to you because you have some sort of accident or illness. Or if we're lucky enough to live a long time, it's more than likely that as we age, we're going to acquire some. So even if you think these things don't apply to you now, they will likely impact you or someone close to you at some point in your life.
And I'd like to add that disabled women and non-binary individuals are especially excluded from leadership decision-making. So making sure you're paying special attention to those individuals as well.
I think for myself, as being defined as a person with a disability, but also a leader, it's also representing that it's okay to share that. It's okay to say, I might not be able to do that, but I can do this, or can you support me in this way? Because it's a really hard thing to say, though. You know, as a leader, also you have an expectation that you're supposed to be strong and be able to do everything, but it's okay to share with others that we all have that time in our lives when we might need to ask for that help.
I'm curious, and you can decide who wants to answer this, but can you define an invisible disability? I think I know what it is because I think I have a relative who is struggling with that.
So the ADA definition of a disability is a physical or mental impairment that impacts a major life activity. So this is a huge umbrella, right? There's a very wide range of conditions that could be qualified as a disability. The primary factor is, does it impact a major life activity? I also have an invisible disability. I have a chronic stomach condition. So depending on the day, you know, I may need to use the restroom more than some other folks. But there's just a very wide range of different things. It could be mental illness. It could be things like ADHD or autism. It could be any sort of chronic illness. It could be arthritis. You know, these are anything that impacts a primary life function. So things like walking, eating, breathing, employment, driving, you know, any of these major life activities that are impacted by a physical or mental thing are considered a disability.
Thank you. Myra, perhaps you can answer this one. Equity versus equality. I know in terms of DEI work what the difference is, but can you share an example of how providing equity rather than just equality it really can make a meaningful impact for a person with a disability?
I think so. Let's see. So, is this better, Mike?
It's no accident that his name is Mike.
Yeah. So we can give everybody an opportunity to do whatever they want to do, but if we don't give them the right tools, sometimes that's not going to be enough to provide an equitable chance to participate. I can give you an example of a Supreme Court case from 1999 with a young man named Garrett who was a quadriplegic who needed a ventilator, and schools didn't want to provide medical services. They were not going to suction the ventilator, right? Well, you can't go to school and learn if you can't breathe. So that's a really good example of equity and equality, right? You have an equal right to go to school, but if you can't breathe, you can't learn. So.
Kind of an example like that too is our organization provides vocational support services, and certainly as employers we all need valuable employees, and so looking at your workspace and how does that offer that. So we had an employee who was so excited to work in manufacturing. He wanted to work in woodwork. He received the job. He was very happy with the job. As the job coach met with him, they said, well, how is it going? And he goes, I love my job. And the employers were so excited because he showed up every day. He was very dedicated. But the employee shared that he goes, I just wish that I could have a hot lunch every day. And they're like, well, they have a lunchroom for you. It has a microwave in it. Can you bring something and warm it up? He utilizes a wheelchair. And so that microwave was placed above and out of his reach so that he couldn't access that. Such simple modifications that we can make in our workplaces that can offer that equity and accessibility.
Tim, give me a heads up a couple of minutes before I'm about to run out of time. 5? Okay, thanks. We're not going to get through all these questions, guys. This has to do specifically if you're a parent with a child with a developmental disability. So what are some of the biggest barriers your child faces in accessing education, community activities or employment, and how can society better support parents and families?
It's a big question. Yeah. And I think, it's the same as any other opportunity. When you are a parent, you really want your child to be able to do everything that everyone else has an opportunity to do. And just, I think, having the opportunity to get to know children with disabilities and their families is a big first step. It's why integrated educational services and integrated housing services and integrated employment services are so important. I remember inviting some young ladies from my daughter's class at Wesley School to a birthday party when she turned 18. And I got a call from one of the mothers just so excited and happy. She was just practically crying. And she said, my daughter's never been invited to a birthday party before. And I thought, wow, that's kind of sad. But when we don't give people opportunities to know each other, when we don't give people opportunities to hear each other's struggles and support each other, we don't really form those meaningful connections and opportunities.
And I think in the community, as we look at organizations and support services, there is a lot of barriers and hurdles and doors that a person has to go through. And so continually looking at how can we make that process easier? How can we make that consolidated so they don't have to go here for this service and here for this service and here for this service? And then try to get there because there's not always accessible transportation available that they might need. So.
That's something?
Yes, my grandson is a young man who has autism, and he's nonverbal. And my daughter, often out in public, if he's struggling, will encounter people who are very judgmental and will think that she's a bad parent or why can't you control your child. So be mindful that there may be an invisible barrier there, that there may be more going on. And if you have the opportunity where you work, offer a calming place or a sensory room where a mother can take somebody who may be suffering.
And you never know whether somebody in a public place is dealing with an invisible disability or autism or something like that. Is anybody here familiar with the recent video that was circulating around the country? And it was a performance of Mozart's Requiem, I think. And at the very end of it, you hear this little boy's voice go, "Wow!" And everybody erupted with applause. Well, it turns out that little boy was autistic. And that was one of the first words that his family had ever heard him make. I think we've covered this, but what role do schools and workplaces have in fostering a more inclusive future for children with disabilities?
So kind of just to tag on that story that I shared about workplaces, I think as a vocational support agency, it's our job to also educate those workplaces and say, this is how you could modify your workplace. This is how you could help them. You could call Disability Network and ask for.
Yeah, you can call Disability Network and ask us for accommodation support. We can do accessibility reviews of your facilities, provide information about what your responsibilities are for the ADA. But also, I always like to tell people that the ADA is a bare minimum standard. This is the worst you can legally do. So, if If you want to actually have an inclusive workplace that's open and friendly and creates a sense of belonging for people with disabilities, you're really going to want to go above and beyond just what the law requires you to do, and Disability Network, along with the other organizations up here, can help you get there if that's something that you're interested in.
All right, I think we are coming to the end here. May I ask one other question? Oh, sure. Okay. This is one that's really relevant to us because we have a lot of business leaders here. We could spend the whole time on this question, but how can businesses create a more inclusive hiring process and work environment for employees with disabilities? I have the feeling that Amy.
Yes. Transportation is a huge barrier for a lot of people with disabilities. And so if you can tailor some of the job opportunities that match up with the MATS bus system, maybe consider some job carving. Maybe an individual might not be able to do an entire job, but if they can do one or two parts of the job, allow them the opportunity to shine in that. Maybe just do the food prep, or maybe just do the kidding aspect, not the entire job, but allow them the opportunity to shine in what they can do.
Flexible shifts.
Absolutely.
I'll just add, in the hiring process, one of the things I see a lot is I'll read somebody's job description, and when you're putting a job description out, you want to be careful that somebody doesn't read it and automatically assume that they can't do the job. So when you're looking at a job description and trying to figure out what are the essential functions of a job, you want to focus more on the outcome than how somebody accomplishes the thing. So do they need to have a driver's license, or do they just need to have reliable transportation? Do they need to be able to see and hear and talk, or do they just need to be able to communicate effectively? So it's important to think about how what the outcome is that you want, and not necessarily how somebody might accomplish that thing.
Absolutely. I think it's important to focus on the skills and the potential and not the rigid job requirement.
Well, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. One of you is going to sacrifice his or her microphone, and then we will have a few questions. Time for a few questions.
Being the wife of a husband who had multiple sclerosis for 40 years and being a caretaker for 6.5 of those years bedridden, I hear you talking about employment, et cetera, but I think you should be also concerned about family. It is a very difficult job, and I'd also like to recognize the Frauenthal for being willing to establish a second handicap site so I could take my husband on a folding stretcher to be able to go to what he loved the most.
Yep.
I like that. I think, the social worker in me always says we also have to take care of those caretakers who are taking care of that person who may be challenged with a disability. Because it's so important, because you can't take good care of other people unless you take good care of yourself.
Carla.
No, that's all right. I have a big voice. This might be a loaded question, but in lieu of some of the changes with federal funding and governmental things around DEI, is that affecting you or your organizations or funding or things that you might be focused in on?
I think there's certainly a lot of risk involved with the suggested changes that are happening. All of our organizations, certainly our focus is around supporting persons with disabilities who could be excluded in many ways if those regulations aren't in place. And then the majority of those persons are also receiving Medicaid subsidy or Social Security subsidy or HUD subsidy that's helping support them be successful in the community. And if those were taken away, that could provide a larger risk to them.
Yeah, speaking specifically for Disability Network, there was an executive order that came out last week to restructure the Department of Health and Human Services, which included dismantling the Administration for Community Living. ACL holds a lot of programs for people with disabilities and seniors, and so with the dismantling of that that division, there's a lot of uncertainty about what might happen. They're saying that, those services are just going to be placed under, other umbrellas right now, but we don't really know if or what the impact of that could be. But for right now, we know that our federal regulatory body is going to be dismantled.
And the Department of Education actually has the portion of Title I that is funding Michigan Rehabilitative Services, which provides a lot of that vocational supports for individuals, too.
One more question. One more? Looks like we're good. Sounds like we're good there. Oh.
Can we share about our event?
Certainly.
Yes, please do.
So if you would like to learn more about the history of the disability rights movement, on your tables are some brochures or postcards, but really it's just a community event. It's free. We ask you to attend or send employees in your organization to attend the event. It is the film preview of Crip Camp in our community. It's a free event. Hors d'oeuvres are available, and we'll also have a panel discussion of persons with disabilities after the film.
Well, thank you very much. We remind you that we do have an honorarium for those who come forward and present for us. We contribute to an organization called Shelter Box, which is an international disaster relief program or organization that works in concert with the Rotary International Disaster Relief. And they provide temporary housing for individuals. So we thank you for your presentation, and it was I really enjoyed it, and thank you very much again. So.
Thank you.
So at this time, I'll call Roger Morgenstern to come forward. We're going to hold the membership vote on the Board of Directors approved amended bylaws. Roger?
Thank you, President Tim. I would like to make the following motion, that the Rotary Club of Muskegon membership approves the club's proposed amended bylaws that were approved by its Board of Directors on March 27th, 2025.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will now vote. And for all those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed by the same sign? Hearing none, thank you very much. We have a unanimous approval. At this time, I'll call forward Jeff Coyle to some remarks on youth programs.
Thanks, President Tim. It's great to be back. I was telling somebody at the table that the most enjoyable thing I did as district governor was visiting clubs and seeing all the wonderful things you do. You're the largest club. Somebody said, well, we're the best. And I said, I can't say you're the best. Did I just say that? Yeah, it's on recording, right, Mike? Sorry. So the past couple of weeks, I've been working a lot on the Life Leadership Conference, and things kept popping up about the Muskegon Club and youth programs. And I'm like, I got to talk about this. So I emailed President Tim. I said, hey, Tim, can I have a couple minutes and go through this? So I have a list, and I came up with a list. So I went with Tim, Doug Wood, John Noling. We went back and forth. This is a list. I want you to listen to all the things that your club sponsors, is involved in financially, people. Some of these you may know, some of you may not. So Interact, 5 high schools: Mona Shores, Muskegon, North Muskegon, Orchard View, Reese Puffer, all have Interact clubs. For those of you that may be new to Rotary, an Interact club is a high school Rotary club. They do different things, but they're run pretty much like a Rotary meeting. They have to have a president, vice president, treasurer, all that stuff. Middle school Interact, Moda Shores. Early Act, which is elementary. We start early. And guess who starts these Early Act clubs? Interact students. High school kids go down to the elementary school and start them. So Mona Shores, Lincoln Park, Mona Shores, Campbell, and North Muskegon Elementary all have Early Act clubs, teaching little kids how to do things, how to be leaders. We just talked about the El Salvador trip, saw the little video. You have 7 of your Interact students on that trip. If you don't know, the El Salvador trip is limited only to Interact students. It's not a district-wide thing. You must be a member of an Interact club to go. 5 chaperones from your club, 3 of whom are past Interactors. And somebody told me in the hallway, 1 or 2 exchange students too. You see a pattern here, life-changing. So I'm the chair. I have a hard time calling myself the chair when I'm next to John Noley. I mean, he makes me sign contracts. How's that? But that makes me the chair. So your club has 28 or 30, I'm not quite sure the number, Tim, scholarships to the Life Leadership Conference in June. Another life-changing thing, Tim went last year and went, oh wow, right, Tim? I invite all of you to come up and spend an hour or 2 at Ferris in the business college. It is unbelievable. So not only do you have 28 or 30 scholarships, John has 25 kids fully registered. Out of the 40, out of the whole district, John has 25 registered. Youth exchange. I'm sure you've had youth exchange students here. You have, in case you don't know, 3 outbounds, 4 inbounds. Is that right, Chauncey? Yes. I've had occasion to meet a couple of them at the service day in Muskegon at the library. Another challenging thing, I'm on the youth exchange committee just because I can. They meet every month, and I'm telling you, the challenges with youth exchange are tough for a whole list of reasons. Some of them are personal, some of them are political, some of them are economic. But all of these things that you're involved in, your club is involved in, it takes a lot of people. Takes a lot of people to support all this stuff. It also takes a lot of money. I mean, some of these things are expensive. El Salvador, the kids are supposed to raise their own money. I mean, this isn't just a free trip. And they and their chaperones use their spring break. So thank you. You guys are awesome. Keep it up. Thank you very much.
Jeff, thank you so much for coming today. We do have a lot to be proud of, and we do have many of you in this room are actively engaged in our youth programs, and we appreciate your support too. So thank you again, Jeff, for coming and visiting with us. At this time, Mike, would you provide the birthday slide? Okay, we have Jay Griffith, Eric Seifert, Nick Green, Eric Kuhn, and Brad Hastings, one of our presenters today. Aaron Kuhn, I'm sorry. Got a little too quick. So Aaron Kuhn also. So at this time, let's sing Happy Birthday for the group. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Reminder to consider a contribution of $10 to the Caring Connection. You can do that with envelopes, a QR code. You can find a QR code in the rim. We'd appreciate that. And at this time, I will ask Mike to prepare to push the button on today's Rotarians in Action Spotlight video. It's Jason Piasecki talking about how we raise awareness of the Muskegon Rotary brand.
I am Jason Piasecki. I have been a Rotarian for 20 years, celebrating my 20th year in Rotary. this year, and I am a co-owner of Revel, and we're a marketing agency here in Muskegon. Branding is a often misunderstood concept, but really, I think when you break it down, it's quite simple. People understand advertising. That's something you might see a commercial on TV or an ad in the newspaper. Marketing is the act of planning, bringing it all together. But branding is really everything. It's your logo, it's your color scheme, it's what people say about you, it's your reputation. And that's why branding is such a key aspect of Rotary. One of my favorite quotes about branding is from Simon Sinek, and he says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that is really applicable to Rotary, because Rotary is all about the why. It's making a difference in the world. It's the programs that we do locally here in the Muskegon community and abroad internationally. So it's that compelling reason behind that gets people so engaged in Rotary, and our club does a wonderful job with it. You know, when you work with you're part of an organization like Rotary International, there's really tight brand standards. So we just can't make up our own logo. We can't make it red because, you know, we like the Big Reds or something like that. So we have to follow the visual brand standards. And that makes it easy from a visual branding point of view. The non-visual side is where we set ourselves apart. It's the content that we produce. It's things like Muskegon Rising. It's our website. It's our programs. It's the experience of when someone comes to a club meeting, that they're welcomed, that they're brought to a table, that they enjoy a meal and get to learn something about Muskegon. So it's all of that put together that makes the Rotary brand, and Muskegon Rotary in particular, so strong.
Very good. So at this time, we will be doing announcements. There are some of you who've arranged to come up and comment on a few things. While you're coming forward, wanted to let you know that there is no rewind meeting today. Meredith?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, March Madness has come to a conclusion, and we had 48 Rotarians participate in the March Madness bracket. We have our winners here today, so I'm going to invite Craig with the Florida Gators, who won the men's bracket, and Marianne, who won the women's bracket with the Yukon Huskies. I'm going to ask them to draw each another Rotarian that participated in the contest who will be the winner of a Paul Harris Fellow. You can read it. If you can read my handwriting.
Two stuck together. Susan Besteman.
Susan Besteman.
Tammy Soa?
Jamie.
Or Jamie. Oh, Jamie Soa.
So thank you to all of our Rotarians. I'll be in touch with Jamie and Susan, and they can decide what they want to do with their award, whether they want to keep it for themselves or bestow it to another Rotarian. And hey, we're going to go big or go home. Hopefully next year we can fill out 2 brackets of 32 Rotarians participating. So congratulations to Craig and Marianne.
Tim, you got a rabbit?
I got a rabbit. All right, now, I'm Tim Lipan. I'm making an announcement for Brianna Scott, our district governor. And I want to remind you that our district conference is here in Muskegon, May 3rd and 4th, right here at the Frohenthal. And we need people to go. Now, by a show of hands, how many people have signed up already? Nice. Those of you who haven't signed up, look at those people, talk to them before they leave and say, why in the heck are you going to this doggone thing? and maybe consider signing up. May 3rd and 4th.
A quick reminder, we still have a couple more spots, probably a couple more spots for people if you have never attended a district event that you're welcome to come. The cost, the registration fee is $175, and our board of directors has approved that $100 of that will cover for those individuals who've never attended. So please consider it. I had somebody come up forward before the meeting asking if it was still available, and I sent him over to Christy. Yes, we still have places available. So Christy's over here if you wish to talk to her afterwards. Let's see. Reminder that that on April the 12th we have the highway pickup. You can contact Esther Rico. I believe she's back. Meeting at 8:45, excuse me, at the Park and Ride near Heil Road, I think it is, that area there. So please consider doing that. If you want to announce, you haven't seen it actually in print, now you have it on your table if you wish, is that we have the Pours for I almost did it, didn't I? Pours for Community events that are coming up. The first one will be April 17th at the 794 Kitchen and Bar. Then the 21st we are going to Unruly. Thursday the 24th we're trying something new by going to the Community House, Coffee House and Social Area. We have one in the morning, 7:30 to 9:30, and another one from 5 to 7. They not only have coffee, but they have other drinks, spritzers, and other non-alcoholic drinks. May 2nd is a Friday. Wonderland Distilling. We've kind of created a tradition for that night late in our event with an event that starts at 4 to 6. It goes from 4 to 6, starts at 4. It gives you a chance to come in and have some social activities before you go out and whatever else you have planned for that evening. And finally, one of our new locations is the Muskegon Brewing Company. We will be there on Tuesday, May the 6th from 5 to 7. So that's our schedule. With the 794 coming up, we have what we call a pours formula for each one of these events. The establishments provide us with contributions, and they're all calculated a little bit different depending on what the establishment is most comfortable doing. And so at 794, if you come in, you'll get a special attention to get a label or a name tag put on you, because anybody who's there that has a Rotary name tag, they will qualify for a pour being done on their part. It looks like they will be giving us $1 a pour on virtually most draft drinks, beer and cider that they have. Also, we will go there hungry because we get 10% of any of the food that you purchase. So plan on staying there for dinner. It was a very successful event last year, and we ended up getting a significant amount of pours from that. So that's what I have for you for announcements. And at this time, I'll call upon, there he is, Eric. I wasn't quite sure who the person was today. While he's doing that, I want to tell you that I received a really great recommendation from one of our guests, or actually an incoming director, at our last board meeting, which took place on Tuesday. And he said, could you tell us where the raffle proceeds go? And I know we talk about Caring Connection, but our raffle proceeds, we don't always let even newer people know what that's for. But the first $2,200 goes to the Polio Plus program, the Rotary International Polio Plus program. And then the rest goes to Caring Connection and other, maybe some other causes that the raffle committee will come to a conclusion as to where we should be spending the money. So that's where the money goes. And today's money. $997. Right next door. Zero 030. Okay, Jim Fisher. Zero 019. Okay, great. Well, our program next week will be homeless youth in Muskegon County. The program next week will be homeless youth in Muskegon County. At this time, would you please rise for the reciting of the four-way test? Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are adjourned.